That was in 1888. Today so many people have heard of it, so many students of the world mystery have felt some inner fiber of their nature thrill in response to the sonorous roll of its archaic phrases, that, in obedience to a very real and persistent demand, the stanzas on which the first 2 volumes of the Secret Doctrine are based are here reprinted in convenient form. For the information of readers into whose hands these stanzas may now fall for the first time, it is desirable to give some brief account of their source, on the authority of the occultist who translated and introduced them to the world of modern thought. The following particulars are derived from the introduction and proem to the Secret Doctrine and from the preface to the Voice of the Silence, which Madame Blavatsky tells us forms part of the same series of long-concealed manuscript treasures to which the stanzas of Dzyan belong. The Book of Dzyan, or Dzyan, a word which Madame Blavatsky connects with dhyana, is not in the possession of any European library, and was never heard of by European scholarship. Nevertheless it exists, and lies hidden, even from the enterprising war correspondent, in one of the mysterious rock libraries that the spurs of the Himalayas may even yet contain. Many rare and priceless heirlooms of a long-lost science are, it is asserted, still in existence in safe custody, works that were thought to have been lost to humanity since the burning of the Great Library of Alexandria, and much more of original documentary matter that has reached the modern world only in the form of thousands of scattered fragments in the vast accumulation of Sanskrit manuscripts, remain for posterity to unveil. The stanzas of Dzyan are an earnest of what may follow when the time is ripe, the present selection being, we are told, but a few fragments of a great whole which would seem to be cosmic history upon the most grandiose and stupendous scale. They are written in a language unknown to philology, if, indeed, the term written is applicable to ideographs, of which it would appear they largely consist, and this associated with the use of a color system of symbology. They are given throughout, says H.P. Blavatsky, in their modern translated version, as it would be worse than useless to make the subject still more difficult by introducing the archaic phraseology of the original with its puzzling style and words. The terms used, where non-translatable into English, are Tibetan or Sanskrit, and for the general reader they will be frequently a stumbling block unless reference be made to the Secret Doctrine itself, where the commentaries on the text will be generally found to supply the meaning. The Secret Books of Lamrin and Dzyan. The Book of Dzyan, from the Sanskrit word dhyan, mystic meditation, is the first volume of the commentaries upon the 7 secret folios of Qute, and a glossary of the public works of the same name. 35 volumes of Qute for exoteric purposes and the use of the layman may be found in the possession of the Tibetan Gelug Lamas, in the library of any monastery, and also 14 books of commentaries and annotations on the same by the initiated teachers. Strictly speaking, those 35 books ought to be termed the popularized version of the Secret Doctrine, full of myths, blinds, and errors. The 14 volumes of commentaries, on the other hand, with their translations, annotations, and an ample glossary of occult terms, worked out from one archaic folio, the Book of the Secret Wisdom of the World, contains a digest of all the occult sciences. These, it appears, are kept secret and apart, in the charge of the Tesul Lama of Tjgadje. The books of Qute are comparatively modern, having been edited within the past millennium, whereas, the earliest volumes of the commentaries are of untold antiquity, some fragments of the original cylinders having been preserved. With the exception that they explain and correct some of the too fabulous, and to every appearance, grossly exaggerated accounts in the books of Qute, properly so called, the commentaries have little to do with these. They stand in relation to them as the Chaldeo, Jewish Kabbalah stands to the Mosaic books. In the work known as the Avatamsaka Sutra, in section, the Supreme Atman Soul as manifested in the character of the Arhats and the Pratyeka Buddhas, it is stated that because from the beginning all sentient creatures have confused the truth and embraced the false, therefore there came into existence a hidden knowledge called Alaya Vijnana. Who is in possession of the true knowledge? Is asked. The great teachers of the snowy mountain, is the response. These great teachers have been known to live in the snowy range of the Himalayas for countless ages. To deny in the face of millions of Hindus the existence of their great gurus, living in the ashrams scattered all over the Trans, or the Cis-Himalayan slopes, is to make oneself ridiculous in their eyes. When the Buddhist savior appeared in India, their ashrams, for it is rarely that these great men are found in lamaseries, unless on a short visit, were on the spots they now occupy, and that even before the Brahmins themselves came from Central Asia to settle on the Indus. And before that more than one Aryan Dvija of fame and historical renown had sat at their feet, learning that which culminated later on in one or another of the great philosophical schools. Most of these Himalayan Banti were Aryan Brahmins and ascetics. No student, unless very advanced, would be benefited by the perusal of those exoteric volumes. They must be read with a key to their meaning, and that key can only be found in the commentaries. Moreover, there are some comparatively modern works that are positively so injurious as far as a fair comprehension of even exoteric Buddhism is concerned. Such are the Buddhist Cosmos, by Dzyan Chon of Peking, the Xing Tao Qi, or the Records of the Enlightenment of Tathagata, by Wang Puk, 7th century, Hisaya Sutra, or Book of Creation, and some others. Synopsis of the first 7 stanzas. Reprinted from the Proem to Volume 1 of the Secret Doctrine. The history of cosmic evolution, as traced in the stanzas, is, so to say, the abstract algebraical formula of that evolution. Hence the student must not expect to find there an account of all the stages and transformations which intervene between the first beginnings of universal evolution and our present state. To give such an account would be as impossible as it would be incomprehensible to men who cannot grasp the nature of even the plane of existence next to that to which, for the moment, their consciousness is limited. The stanzas, therefore, give an abstract formula which can be applied, mutatis mutandis, to all evolution, to that of our tiny Earth, to that of the chain of planets of which the Earth forms one, to the solar universe to which that chain belongs, and so on, in an ascending scale, till the mind reels and is exhausted in the effort. The 7 stanzas given in this, the first, volume represent the 7 terms of this abstract formula. They refer to, and describe, the 7 great stages of the evolutionary process, which are spoken of in the Puranas as the 7 creations, and in the Bible as the days of creation. Stanza 1 describes the state of the One All during Pralaya, before the first flutter of reawakening manifestation. A moment's thought shows that such a state can only be symbolized; to describe it, is impossible. Nor can it be symbolized except in negatives, for, since it is the state of absoluteness per se, it can possess none of those specific attributes which serve us to describe objects in positive terms. Hence that state can only be suggested by the negatives of all those most abstract attributes which men feel rather than conceive, as the remotest limits attainable by their power of conception. Stanza 2 describes a stage which, to a Western mind, is so nearly identical with that mentioned in stanza I, that to express the idea of its difference would require a treatise in itself. Hence it must be left to the intuition and the higher faculties of the reader to grasp, as far as he can, the meaning of the allegorical phrases used. Indeed, it must be remembered that all these stanzas appeal to the inner faculties rather than to the ordinary comprehension of the physical brain. Stanza 3 describes the reawakening of the universe to life after pralaya. It depicts the emergence of the monads from their state of absorption within the One, the earliest and highest stage in the formation of worlds, the term monad being one which may apply equally to the vastest solar system or the tiniest atom. Stanza 4 shows the differentiation of the germ of the universe into the septenary hierarchy of conscious divine powers, which are the active manifestations of the One Supreme Energy. They are the framers, shapers, and ultimately the creators of all the manifested universe. In the only sense in which the name creator is intelligible, they inform and guide it. They are the intelligent beings who adjust and control evolution, embodying in themselves those manifestations of the one law, which we know as the laws of nature. Generally, they are known as the Dzyan Kohans, through each of the various groups has its own designation in the secret doctrine. This stage of evolution is spoken of in Hindu mythology as the creation of the gods. Stanza 5 describes the process of world formation. First, diffused cosmic matter, then the fiery whirlwind, the first stage in the formation of a nebula. This nebula condenses, and after passing through various transformations, form a solar universe, a planetary chain, or a single planet, as the case may be. Stanza-6 indicates the subsequent stages in the formation of a world, and brings the evolution of such a world down to its fourth great period, corresponding to the period in which we are now living. Stanza-7 continues the history, tracing the descent of life down to the appearance of man, and thus closes the first book of the Secret Doctrine.